My dear students, in this class let us learn 5 kingdom classification proposed by R.H. Whittaker. Before starting the session, let me make a confession. You will be listening to the noise generated by our students, which is musical for me. Try to bear with this limitation because I am recording this lesson in my leisure period. Let us come to the point. 5 kingdom classification was proposed by R.H. Whittaker. According to R.H. Whittaker, there are 5 kingdoms in the entire living world. The first kingdom is Monera, second kingdom is Protista, third kingdom is fungi, fourth one is Plantae, fifth kingdom is Animalia. R.H. Whittaker proposed a 5 kingdom classification. Monera is represented by prokaryotic unicellular organisms, whereas Protista is represented by eukaryotic unicellular organisms, whereas fungi, Plantae and Animalia are represented by eukaryotic multicellular organisms. So, Monera includes only prokaryotic organisms, whereas Protista, fungi, Plantae, Animalia include eukaryotic organisms, but Protista include only eukaryotic unicellular organisms, whereas fungi, Plantae and Animalia are represented by eukaryotic multicellular organisms. Now, let us try to understand all these kingdoms one by one. Monera includes bacteria. Bacteria are prokaryotes which are unicellular. They lack membrane bound cell organelles. They also lack nucleus. Nuclear membrane and membrane bound cell organelles are completely absent in Monera, and there is circular DNA in bacteria, and this circular DNA is also just floating in the cytoplasm because bacteria do not contain nucleus. The circular DNA of bacteria is simply floating in the cytoplasm, and the cell wall of bacteria is made up of one substance called peptidoglycan. There are 4 types of bacteria, namely Coccus, Vibrio, Spirally, Bacillus. This classification was based on the shape. Coccus are round bacteria, Vibrio are comma shaped bacteria, Spirally are spiral shaped bacteria, Bacillus are rod shaped bacteria. So, this is about the classification of bacteria depending on the shape. Depending on the groups, that means depending on the number, again these different shaped bacteria are classified. Some bacteria are arranged in pairs if their shape is round, and if they are arranged in pairs they are called diplococci. So, diplococci are the round bacteria that are arranged in pairs like this. If 4 bacteria which are round in shape are arranged like this is called tetracocci. If cocci are arranged like a bunch of grapes like this, then that is called staphylococci. If cocci are arranged in chains, they are referred to as streptococci like this. If they are linear and they are arranged in the form of chain, it is called streptococci. So, that is about the true bacteria. Whereas there are also archaebacteria which can withstand extremes of temperature and salinity. So, that is about this particular kingdom, namely Monera. And coming to the Streptobacilli, the same principle is applied here also. Streptobacilli represent a chain of bacillus, and Staphylobacillus represent a bunch of bacillus. That means in Streptobacilli you find a chain of rod shaped bacteria which are arranged one after another like this, whereas a bunch of bacillus which are arranged like this, a group of bacillus which are arranged like this are called Staphylobacillus. So, this is about the different types of bacteria, of course. And coming to Protista, Protista are nothing but unicellular eukaryotic organisms which are represented by protozoans. The only one phylum that is included under Protista is Protozoa. And true nucleus is present, membrane bound cell organelles are also present. About this protozoa we will learn in subsequent classes. Fungi are eukaryotic, multicellular, saprophytic organisms. Saprophytic organisms are those organisms which can absorb the dead and decaying organic matter from the surroundings. Plantae is represented by multicellular eukaryotic autotrophs. That means they can synthesize their own food material with the help of photosynthesis. They fix up radiant energy, they fix up light energy and convert the same into chemical energy, namely starch. Starch is the reserve food material in Plantae. And coming to Animalia, which is our area of discussion, which is our cup of tea. Animalia is represented by animals. All animals are eukaryotic, multicellular, heterotrophs. That means they are not autotrophs like plants, they are heterotrophs. They have to hunt, they have to prepare, or they have to predate. They can't prepare their own food material like plants with the help of photosynthesis, because they don't have that chlorophyll. So, all the animals are heterotrophs. They have to predate, they have to hunt, and they exhibit holozoic mode of nutrition, and glycogen is the reserve food material in all animals including human being. And this Animalia kingdom is divided into two subkingdoms, namely Parazoa and Eumetazoa. Eumetazoa are the real metazoans, whereas Parazoa are partial animals. Parazoa is a dead branch, Parazoa is a dead end. That means dead end means it does not include the dead animals, it includes only live animals, but they have not given rise to any other phyla in the evolutionary tree. So, Parazoa are nothing but partial animals. Parazoa exhibits cellular grade of organization. It is represented by only a single phylum, and the only animals included under Parazoa are sponges. Parazoa means partial animals. You might be knowing the sponges do not exhibit locomotion. Sponges, they do not exhibit any movement. They look like plants. Hence, they are called partial animals and they are grouped under separate category, namely Parazoa. And it is represented by only a single phylum, namely Porifera, which is a dead end. And coming to Eumetazoa, Eumetazoa means Eumetazoa are real or true metazoans. They exhibit well defined higher levels of organization, namely tissue grade, organ grade or system grade or system organ grade. Such Eumetazoa are divided into Diploblastica and Triploblastica. So, Eumetazoa is divided into Diploblastica and Triploblastica. Diploblastica exhibits radial symmetry, whereas Triploblastica exhibit bilateral symmetry. So, diploblastic animals have got only two germinal layers, namely ectoderm and endoderm. Mesoderm is absent in diploblastic animals, whereas in triploblastic animals there are three layers, namely ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. And triploblastica is known as bilateria, diploblastica is known as radiata. Let us go to the next slide. So, diploblastic animals are those animals which exhibit radial symmetry. Hence, this group is also known as radiata. Only ectoderm and endoderm are present and they exhibit tissue grade of organization, and Coelenterata is the phylum that is included under this diploblastica or radiata. And in the diagram you can see there is one umbrella like animal called jellyfish, and you might be knowing or you might have studied hydra also. So, hydra jellyfishes are included under phylum Coelenterata, which are also called cnidarians, and these are included under diploblastica that exhibit radial symmetry. Second one is bilateria. As the name indicates, these bilateria animals exhibit bilateral symmetry where the animal can be cut into two equal halves along oro-anal axis. And all the bilaterally symmetrical animals are triploblastic in nature. They contain three germinal layers, namely ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. And this bilateria is again divided into two divisions, namely protostomia and deuterostomia. Protostomia includes those organisms where blastopore is converted into mouth, whereas deuterostomia includes those organisms where blastopore is converted into anus. So in case of protostomia, blastopore is converted into mouth, and in case of deuterostomia, the blastopore is converted into anus. And let us see how again these are divided. Protostomia, as I already told, includes those organisms where blastopore develops into mouth and they exhibit spiral and determinate cleavage, and the embryos of protostomes are called mosaic embryos. Protostomia is divided into acylomata, pseudocylomata and eucylomata. Acylomata, pseudocylomata and eucylomata. Eucylomates are again divided into schizocylomata and enterocylomata. Let us see all these categories one by one. So let us see the first category. Acylomata includes those organisms which are represented by the animals that lack coelom. In these animals, there is a solid body plan, there is no coelomic cavity, there is no body cavity, as the body cavity is filled up with one tissue called parenchyma or mesenchyma. So let me repeat, acylomata is represented by those animals where coelom is absent. They have got solid body plan and body cavity is filled up with parenchyma or mesenchyma tissue, hence there is no coelom. And the only phylum that is included under acylomata is Platyhelminthes. Coming to pseudocylomata, pseudocylomata are those organisms which contain false coelom. False coelom means the coelom that is not lined by mesoderm is called false coelom or pseudocoelom, and it is represented by a single phylum called Nematihelminthes or Aschelminthes, or these are also called nematodes. And there is one more aspect, one more category called eucylomata. Eucylomata is again divided into schizocylomata and enterocylomata. Eucoelom means true coelom. Let us see how it is divided. It is divided into schizocylomata and enterocylomata. Schizocylomata includes those organisms where there is coelom and the coelom is formed from splitting up of mesoderm. It includes three phyla, namely Annelida, Arthropoda and Mollusca. In Arthropoda and Mollusca, the schizocylom is filled up with blood. Hence, in Arthropoda and Mollusca, the schizocylom is also known as hemocoel. And coming to deuterostomia, which includes enterocylomata, I told that deuterostomia is a group of animals where the blastopore is converted into anus, and coelom is derived from pouches of archenteron. Hence, the deuterostomes are also called enterocoelomates, and they exhibit radial and indeterminate cleavage. And here you can see the subdivision enterocoelomata, where the coelom is formed from pouches of archenteron like this. And because the coelom is formed from the infoldings of the archenteron, which is nothing but the primitive gut that is found in embryonic condition, these organisms are also called enterocoelomates. And there are three categories of animals that are included under this enterocoelomata, namely echinodermata, which are invertebrates, hemichordata and chordata. Hemichordata of course connects invertebrates with chordates. Hemichordates are called half chordates. So like that, hemichordata, chordata and echinodermata are enterocoelomates which contain coelom formed from the pouches of archenteron. So that is about 5 kingdom classification proposed by Robert Whittaker. And there is one more type of classification called 3 kingdom classification that was proposed by Carl Woese. Of course, this is based on molecular systematics. There are 3 domains. Domain is a bigger unit than kingdom, and according to this 3 kingdom classification proposed by Carl Woese, there are only 3 kingdoms, namely bacteria, archaea and eukarya. So that is about this 3 kingdom classification. So with this particular topic is over, and let us meet with some other lesson on this online platform on some other day. Thank you very much.